Yes, my background really has been in science communications research, but it was born of a media background. I was one of the discoveries of one of the founders of the Discovery Channel. Worked closely with all of the science media organizations, all of the many news media organizations around the world, and still do. And my work was really initially based on what we were all really coping with, which is the absolute, and in media it is, the absolute incapacity to engage broad audiences, and to engage broad audiences in any kind of climate sensitivity, awareness, education, and action. It's not working. And I knew it was not working. And I left the private sector more or less full time, really, to begin taking the big or bigger, not so big pot of money I had to essentially embark on a 5 to 10 year research project where I began to explore different communication modalities that would allow different disparate groups with opposing competitive values that would cohere into symbiotic networks towards outcomes. A lot of that work, especially at its inception, was focused on a lot of that communications work was focused on models for emergency preparedness and military preparedness. And from that, humanistic communications, which is the name it's now given, which is being practiced, piloted, developed and deployed and practiced from the Department of Energy to the IPCC to various ministries around the world presently, including some of the world's leading entrepreneurs and philanthropists as well. The core meta-message, really, if you were to sort of have to, the core meta-message and the core distinction between our current communication strategies and humanistic communications really is this. To date, we have focused, I was going to say class, sorry, and this is my classroom, so we have focused on how essentially to take the information of, let's say, climate science and figure or construe or contrive a way to better communicate that message. Okay? We have turned ourselves into pretzels to try to make it more attractive, more sexy, more intuitive, more friendly, more adolescent, more sexy, whatever it takes. We've tried it all, and none of it is working. Okay? And one of the reasons that none of it is working, and the research supports this, is because at the end of the day, as my mother would say, you can't put lipstick on a pig and not have it still be a pig. At the end of the day, if people do not see themselves reflected in climate change activity and initiatives, if they do not see the transposition of the science into very specific opportunities and experiences that climate change provides, they will not come. Okay? You can't bring that horse to water if the climate change conundrum does not speak to very specific values. So rather than try to convince people to come to climate change, we take a different approach. And that approach is, don't ask what you can do for climate change. Ask, focus, strategize, engage on another idea. The flip of that. What can climate change do for you? What can acting on climate change do for what you care about? What can climate change even itself do for you in terms of business opportunities, economic opportunities, social opportunities, and to completely turn climate change from a problem into a path? Because we have essentially based our climate change messaging, and this applies to all environmental messaging, on the dissemination of the facts and what we call the branding in communications lingo, the branding of the threat. Okay? The branding of the threat, which you see right here. Okay? And what the branding of the threat does, it has a rebound effect. It has a reverse effect. Because what it does is it actually endows it actually endows the threat, okay, with a kind of power that the restoration or rescue of that threat cannot ultimately diffuse, okay? And you're left there with a kind of doom-saying, doom-falling, womb-falling feeling that there's really ultimately nothing one can do. And here's essentially where we are at in terms of branding climate. And I choose that word carefully. I won't return to it, but it's an important, and I bring it up consciously, because the words of branding and climate don't fall comfortably necessarily together, particularly in science and academic circles. But the impact of the climate counter brand, which is dominant, and the climate brand, which is very weak. If you look here, solution, closing solution, cacophony, lack of credible solution, carbon consumerism, as we just discussed, the plastic chair. This is a very low involvement issue, plastic chair, everything else, right? And also issue fatigue, branding a threat, over and over and over again. This leaves us at a disadvantage with all of this, that those who are opposed to essentially climate action are aggregating power and force and moral force around. What they have, because I know we started late, what we have is a fact-based strategy that derives its authority from the science, that depends on the power of knowledge to disseminate and diffuse and engage participants and stakeholders on climate change action, competing with this. This, competing with this. Laugh all you want, it's no competition. The other wins hands down. And this is all hope because Jesus said so, speaks, friends, to values. It speaks to the gut that you saw in that National Geographic slide. So our challenge is not to disband facts and get in that tunnel of alternative facts, otherwise known as lies. Our job is to get in to the bin of alternative facts and begin to spin Rumpelstiltskin gold yarn from those facts that can help deliver gold filament to take us to a better place. And there is help on the way, and it's called humanistic communications. Information deficit is the approach I've been describing to you. Information deficit is a fact-based approach, hoping that the facts will translate into knowledge. Information surfeit, this is data first, this is drama first. Information surfeit is based on another approach, which is don't worry about the facts, lead with the drama, scare them, make them happy, wave up and down about a fantastic green future. Humanistic communications sits in the middle. It creates a bridge between data and drama. It moves away from facts, and it begins to focus on the very simple premise to start, that you must know, and you must engage, and you must partner, and you must develop an experience with the stakeholders who are key to moving the planet forward. And, friends, that is not the same, and if they say it to you, write me an email. When someone says to you, this is about framing, you have my email, email me. Okay? Framing is completely inappropriate paradigm, because framing is not partnering. Framing is manipulating. Framing is trying to get someone to do your bidding, okay, based on tucking your climate change message into something that you think might ultimately be attractive to them. That is no way to partner. To truly step in a situation with and develop climate engagement you need to fully begin to accommodate and address in a very specific way, as you'll be doing in a few moments with regards to national security, very specific partnerships that will help, in this case, advance national security through the lens of environmental action. Right? Not, here's why. Here are all the connections between environmental, national security and environmental. No. Here are essentially narratives that we can step into now that connect environmental security, national security and environmental action that would be of benefit to national security in the following very specific, actionable ways. Are you in? It's the difference between this and this, as we now about to break into our groups. The view that we've been holding really since the 60s and 70s, the battleship Earth, fragile Earth, protect the Earth, the pristine Earth. The truth of the matter is very, very few people, even though it launched the environmental movement, very few people can identify with it. It launched the environmental movement as a kind of poetry. Okay? When it became clear that the environmental movement was associated with an environmental science, which in and of itself represented a critique of economic progress. That was a first, friends. Up until then, science was all about physics. Science was all about going to the moon. Science was all about advancing civilization. It was all about building technology. It was an environmental science introduced an entirely new paradigm, which is, wait a minute, not so fast. And that was like, and the establishment resisted. And they've been resisting ever since. Okay? And we have been persistent in our research, in our development, and our deployment, in banging home the message that we are destroying the planet. Well, we are destroying the planet. But we ourselves are culpable in where we are at by essentially having retreated into a fact-based space and essentially keeping our messages really as a critique of the conquest of the planet and man's dominion of the planet. Therefore, we get branded as tree huggers who run around in Birkenstocks and are socialists and are interested in global planets and the planet, saving the planet more than we are saving people. And that is working. This is a narrative approach. And bear in mind, a narrative approach is I know my class is going to giggle because they always have heard me say this before. When someone says to you, just put people in it. Put an Eskimo in front of a house that's fallen into the sea. You know? That is not the same as developing a story that your partners can step into with you that has a beginning, middle, and end. That's why we use the word narrative. You are storytellers, okay? And what you're doing is producing an opportunity for partners to join you on a story that is congruent with outcomes that will be symbiotic and beneficial. Humanistic communications involves always a two-communication channel strategy. This work is shared with the cultural cognition work here at Yale done by Dan Kahan. All of your communication, and again, when we say communication here is a communication outcome. And your messages are around the outcome that you're hoping to produce. Whether it is an engagement around green planting events, whether it is on a green farm, whether it's on a new energy-based system that Bill Gates is funding, whether it is a new Pentagon strategy. The idea here is you're not essentially trying to convince people about climate change. You're trying to co-create engagement with them on climate change. All right? And that's an important distinction. Any questions on that since I have 10 minutes left? We good? No, okay. So number one, content and meaning. Content are the facts. Okay? That's channel one. Channel 2 is meaning, values. I'll show you another slide in a moment that will further clarify that point. You have people's cultural worldview, your communication. You supply new evidence. Okay? New evidence can be new facts. That can be new information. You marry cultural worldviews to the new evidence. This actually goes back and forth. This results in a commuting of prior factual belief to revised factual belief. So through the cathexis of content, facts, meaning, value, you transmute evidence combined with people's cultural worldviews to a new and revised factual belief. So those are examples of some personal tools. Professional tools, which is what you're about to deal with. Right? A humanistic communication, an effective humanistic communication, seeks to achieve all 5 of these. And that's pretty much a cardinal rule. That if you want to advance and move environmental outcomes, you need to engage science, media, policy, business, and belief systems. This can also be community. This last one here can also be community. What you're going to be doing in your groups, firstly and foremostly, is you're going to be taking the meta-narrative, which is the subject of this workshop. And the subject of the workshop is, somebody, how to advance national security through the lens of environmental action. Right? Close enough? Right, that's the name. Okay? First thing you do, right, is you develop a sub-narrative in each of these categories that speaks to that meta-narrative. So what is the media iteration of that meta-message? How will media ultimately transpose that meta-message, national security through the lens of environmental action, okay? What ultimately is a media message? What is a media outcome? Etc. To help you with that, these are what we call language determinants. These are sort of traits that help you identify what a media community needs in order to partner with you on that message. Okay? So when your first step, you're moving from meta-narrative, national security through the lens of environmental action, you're going to want to develop a media sub-narrative of that. Okay? What is the media version of that meta-message? Okay? Based on leveraging these traits. That's step number 1. Everyone understand that? And the TFs will also help you with that. Okay? Each of you will be divided, science, policy, media, belief, community, business, etc. Each of you will be divided in these groups. First thing, we're done, yep. First thing we'll do is the sub-narrative. Maybe 10, 20 minutes, they'll be the clock monitors. Now, within each of these columns, and these are the tools you'll work with today. You want to overload them. Within these vertical columns, and you will have these documents with you, there is the pestle constellation. What the pestle constellation enables you to do is connect inside, let's say, the science column, how you are going to develop, let's take technology, for example. Let's stay with media. You have your media narrative, and you want to develop a media outcome where you partner with media to advance national security. And you do that through one of these groups. So it is, how can my media narrative advance national security through technology, leveraging of new technology, leveraging of political opportunity that media can provide, leveraging of economics. How can media ultimately move either an economic message or an economic outcome social, legal. You won't have to. Are they tackling all 5 pestles? Yeah. Yes?
Tackling all 5 and narrowing down to 2.
Okay. So you guys will determine as a group how many of the pestle subcategories you're going to take on. So you go from meta-narrative, national security through the lens of environmental action, to a sub-narrative that is congruent with your language determinants. And I'll be floating. And then the very specific way, so the very specific way you are going to tackle or approach the National Security Advisor, which will be me at the end of the session, on making a case for, in the case of media, making a case on behalf of media for environmental action towards national security through the lens of technology.
So jumping off of using public space for resistance movements and then framing it in a way that would work with the current administration. We said using public space for constructive community conversations around access to critical resources for refugees. So it's using public spaces to learn English, to have their safe space for resistance movements, even though we wouldn't really use that kind of language. These green spaces could have community garden plots for new immigrant families. What else?
Yeah, okay, so then our kind of one-liner specific to National Security Advisor is we're here on behalf of communities and faith groups who believe that refugees present a concern to our neighborhood safety and domestic security. But we believe by investing in green public spaces, we can ensure that there are welcoming places for new families and programs integrating them into the American way of life. By doing so, we can create stronger, safer communities and our country.
Nice. Perfect. That's exactly right. And enable the United States, again, to become essentially great again and not entirely abandon its legacy and commitment to immigration, but in a way that is consonant with our emerging values and concerns of safety. So, detail that, and you'll figure out what lens you can work through. That's great. Yes, good.
Okay, so I've got the 2 sentences and hand out to some of our team partners to go over the networks and the more details. So, the U.S. wants to stay in control in the climate change area worldwide in order to maintain first mover advantage, guide efforts in our best interests. And from the business side, we want business development through public-private partnerships to develop and sell water technology worldwide for profit for America and to reduce conflict that we would get involved in with focus on areas where there are energy and poverty correlations to water scarcity and conflict.
Perfect.
So through business, we want, and politically, we want to stimulate congressional engagement, district by district, and maybe turn the Rust Belt into the Money Belt in this way by creating a bunch of jobs there in water technology. And so that kind of is social too. And then technologically, we want to engage with the national lab systems and DARPA, and then use also public-private partnerships to move us forward, and then maybe also economically engage with the Fed to stimulate monetary policy. And we also thought about a carbon tax.
Okay, great. All right, one thing, each of you, real quick. Address the politics box more specifically. Go, Caroline. Politics box. How? Because you touched upon it in your what you said.
Yeah.
What would it be?
So we're going to work with different congressional districts to make it clear to them that by engaging in water technological innovation, they're going to be supporting their district's people and supporting America's national security on a global front. And that will end up stimulating jobs, making their people happy, which will help them be reelected next term.
Okay, and as part of building your network, you're developing that water technology in the Rust Belt for why?
Because that's where there's the most struggle right now.
And what else?
And there's the most potential to come together. I think there's a lot of split between the Rust Belt and other parts of the U.S., and that's where a lot of the political and economic tension is. So if we focus on that area, we'll end up mending the U.S. as a whole and literally making America great again.
Okay. What else? Good. What else?
There's excess capacity. Take a look at labor capacity, take a look at manufacturing capacity, take a look at renewables and other relatively cheap sources of energy that can be applied to lower that cost of goods sold. Those give you competitive advantage worldwide, as well as, it's a great opportunity to bring this discussion into the middle of the country and replace jobs that have disappeared there.
Correct. You'd want to partner with science, the language of German, to see if in fact the Rust Belt / now Money Belt or Water Belt, okay, ultimately, is best suited for the development of this technology and why. Partner with governments, okay, as part of your communication strategy. Partner with governors to suggest, or partner with constituents to suggest incentives that the Rust Belt would supply to further give ballast to your proposal to incentivize water technology development. And through the politics module, you're doing also something, you're doing something else. You're delivering Trump's constituency to Trump. Okay? That's what you're doing. And yes, you may be helping Trump win re-election, but you're also advancing America in a way that is compatible with your planetary goals. And that, my friends, is symbiosis. Okay? Like it or not. That's what it is. So you would want, essentially, to deliver a package which is great. Idea, water technology, connected to policy, national security, business opportunity, and moreover, we've begun to develop a network where this is best suited in Ohio, and here is why, okay, and or even if it isn't best suited in Ohio, you go to Ohio and you say, here's an opportunity, and can you make yourself the best place for this, because that's a way to move this forward. That is what's called mapping your communication system. That is very different than simply messaging your communication issue. It's leveraging communication to develop communication ecosystems for change. That's what I want to leave you with.